Are we ready?
We'll stand for pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, go ahead and call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda today is our consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the last meeting.
Also moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have Amber Moore from Avoca Main Street. Discussion decision to approve funding request in the amount of $3,000. Amber, you are up.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope you received the program highlights that I distributed, and I also have another item. If you would like to look it over, it just has a little bit more about our cumulative Main Street progress. But Main Street, we are a nonprofit organization in Avoca, Iowa. Our population is approximately 1,500. What we do is we work with our downtown through community engagement, historic preservation, and economic incentives to improve our downtown and maintain it as a cultural center of our community. As you can see, we've had a fair amount of progress. We've noted since 2014 when we began the program. We've invested over $2.9 million in our downtown, and that's private investment. Almost 12,000 volunteer hours have gone into our program, and we have net 12 new downtown businesses, but opened over 30 since 2014. Businesses open and close. So it's a 4-point approach. We have approximately 45 volunteers that work with our program throughout the year. And I can answer any questions you have about any of the items here.
Where's this Radberry's Bakery and Cafe?
That is soon to be open. It was formerly in a dentist's office. We're right next to our flower shop.
I know where it is.
Yep. Okay, excellent. A nice Chicago-style storefront. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cammy's Cookies opened up recently too.
They did, and they expanded their hours for summer, so.
Yeah.
And both of those businesses, I would like to say, got their start at our farmers market, which began in 2015. So Cammy's launched in 2015. Her first event was at our downtown farmers market. Now she has a stable storefront business and she can do commercial orders. Radberry's Bakery has been at our farmers market since they moved from California to Avoca in 2017. And she basically used her earnings from farmers market to be able to purchase her building. So, and we were able to get them $100,000 matching grant from Main Street, Iowa, to do the renovations, which were very necessary in the building. So it'll be better for the whole block when the project is complete.
You guys have done a nice job out there.
Thank you very much. We have a really wonderful community and truly excellent volunteers.
So are you a volunteer or are you?
No, I'm the paid staff member. Main Street, Iowa requires that you have at least a part-time paid staff member for communities under 2,500 and full-time for communities larger than that. So I work approximately 25 hours a week. And the city of Avoca funds basically my salary. All of the rest of our investment comes from the programs we put on, individuals, and business donations.
So how many board members are there on your Iowa Main Street board there in Avoca?
We have 8 board members currently. We can have up to 12.
Okay. They used to, how long have you been there?
I've been there since 2017.
Okay,
That's correct.
because they used to come and some of the board members used to come and present.
Yes, I tried to get some to come today. Right now, I only have 1 retired member on my board. Everyone else is working.
Okay.
And, you know, with a small town, you kind of need everyone to keep things going. So
Yeah,
no one was able to get away and join me today.
Sounds good.
I'd make a motion to approve this $3,000 for this Main Street for Avoca.
Second,
Well,
coming out of gaming.
Very much appreciate your time. Thank you very
Any
much.
questions for Amber? Any questions with anybody from anybody?
No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have Mark Shoemaker.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Amber, if you guys would come probably near the end of the year and make your request while we're doing our budget.
You bet. What month would that be, preferably?
January.
January?
Somewhere, yeah, for end of the year, first of the year.
Oh, we can definitely do that. Thank you.
That, be be the best. I don't know when you're doing your budget, but that's.
We work on an annual system. The city works in the similar fiscal year system to you, so,
Yeah, we have to turn ours in by March, so.
okay, will do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we're moving on. Again, 11, discussion decision on Potawatomi County Conservation Peace Officers Retiree Health Insurance Proposal. Mark, Jenny, you guys are up.
Yeah, no, this is a policy that I saw that the sheriff's department and the detention officers have. It's basically the detention officers can retire at 55 and they get they get the option of cashing out their sick time that they have available to them, or a paid single policy for up to 5 years after they retire. And it's something that I presented to my board. They thought it was a good idea, and I'm here presenting it to you. I included what the actual policy is for the detention officers, what the proposed policy could be for conservation, and then I threw in a estimated budget of what it could be long-term as far as how it could affect conservation's budget.
And they have to have a lot of the same public safety training.
Well, I mean, the Potawatomi County Conservation Officers go through the same training that the city departments and the sheriff's departments do through the Iowa Law Enforcement Agency.
So how many of those would we have?
There's 6 of us.
6 of you?
Yep.
Okay. Would that be just the low end or the top end number, 6? Or
That's it.
it'd
That's the
only-
top end, yeah.
It'd only be 6.
Yeah. I don't see us adding any more
Mark, are
certified.
you're considered a peace officer, correct? All 6 of those people are?
Yeah.
Correct, okay.
Now, I did just want to bring up though that 911 did ask for this same thing in their contract, and the board did not approve that. Now, they're not technically peace officers, and I think that's the difference in the training that's required and that sort of thing, but I wanted to bring that up.
So they have the ability to write tickets and arrest and all those items.
Correct.
You gotta qualify once a year or something like that, or do you guys do those?
We're required to get 12 hours of like in-service training. We do a majority of that at Camp Dodge. It's called the County Conservation Peace Officers Association. They hold a statewide training there where we get most of that training. And yeah, we do have to qualify with firearms annually. And then if there's any hours that we don't get at Camp Dodge, then we get those however we can through training with the sheriff's department or other entities. We also have a spring workshop that we go to that is hosted regionally.
So if they do that, we don't do the sick leave buyout at that time, correct?
If they choose to do the
Continue the
health insurance, yeah,
5 years extra?
yeah. And a majority of them have families, so they're gonna have to actually kick in money for a family policy above and beyond what the single policy would be.
Do we have a lot ready to retire at 55?
Oh, I don't know. That was the estimates that I put in there. There's some that are gonna work longer than that have indicated that, so.
Okay.
You don't get to retire yet?
What?
Said you don't get to retire yet.
I'm not ready yet.
No, I
There's-
think it's important you brought that up, Jana, but I just think we need to separate those two, just for this, I realize they're not, but I think that we need to review that situation separately than this particular one. In my mind, you're able to do virtually everything that our regular deputies and law enforcement are able to do. So to me, this is kind of I think.
You guys are considered protected class under IFRS, correct? As
Yeah.
opposed
Yeah.
to-
Yeah.
So I mean,
So,
right, just seems kind of like a no-brainer in my opinion, so.
So are they forced to retire at 65 then?
No.
No, conservation's not. I think that only probably applies to the sheriff's department, isn't it?
Yeah,
Law
and
enforcement.
I don't know that they're forced. I think it just happens that it always works out where
Yeah.
they choose to go. That's why their retirement is earlier than everyone else's, to hopefully encourage that. But
The
I
only
don't
one
do
that's
that.
probably
there's a certain
closest
age,
to this area,
But they have to.
Dave Fisher.
I think so.
And him.
Huh?
And him.
And well, yeah, he's not going anywhere for a while.
I'll make the motion to approve the
I'll
policy.
second that.
All right, any other discussion for Jana, Mark? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have Maria Seek, the Administrator of Public Health. Update on funding, on the fundraising for the public health building. Maria, you're up.
So some documents to present to you all today. Initial thing I've handed out to you is the schematic design cost by Boyd Jones. But I didn't come here without a path forward on the pricing for this.
Can you do overhead?
Thank you.
You don't need a projector for this?
Second to this is our funding pipeline. There you are. So, a quick view at this was, we met with Boyd Jones. They came back to us with a schematic design budget price of $10.9 million for the building. When we look at it through the help of Field Day on this, we're actually closer to the $13.5, $13.7 million. And that would include all of your soft costs as far as furnitures, moving costs, some signage and some artwork, things like that. Maybe a little bit of money in there for an event, kind of for an open house when we first open it up. But it's not, when you think of that $13.5, $13.7 million, it's not unattainable for us for where we are right now. And that's where, when we look at the funding pipeline, with what Lisa Fox and Fox Creek Funding has put together for us, we have a path potentially forward of being around $15.9 million in receivables with the capital campaign moving forward on this. Now, a portion of this that I did want to give the supervisors just a little bit of food for thought. It's not a decision today, but our FEMA reimbursement portions of COVID is starting to come back around. Those funds could potentially be designated for the building if we so chose. The board chose to designate it that way. That would be about another $2.5 million that we could add into this. Mitch has been talking to me about the opioid funding that the county is going to be receiving. That is designated, those funds are going to be heavily restricted on what the county is able to do with them, but we could designate them to this project. That would be around a $3 million boost for this project as well on there. And then I'm not leaving the city of Council Bluffs really kind of off the hook on us going to them for an ask for this building. 80% of the work from the department really is within the confines of the city of Council Bluffs, biggest public health user. And so a little extra incentive from them on that would really help us out as well. We are adding in the Title 10 funding portion for public health too. Iowa Department of Public Health reached out last week. They really want us applying for this funding, so we're going to apply for the funding. And that'll be a boost in programming and people coming in, so we have that part of it. There's some money that comes in specifically to kind of the WIC services as well that we can apply for, just different foundations that have based their interest in that area. And then animal control, recycling, environmental health, all of those as well have either private foundations or donors that we would make requests specific to the programming that goes on there to assist with that as well.
Matt, where's the 13 number is that?
I don't have that detailed sheet to show you.
Okay.
That detailed sheet will be coming, but so right now, just I knew it would be kind of a little bit of a shock value to the board, so I wanted to prepare you for that, but it's around 13.5, 13.7 when you add in. When you start to look at that size of a building and adding in the furniture and things that we'll need for it, it's around that cost.
Matt, you're aware the opioid funds are paid off over a 10-year period, right?
Correct.
So you're considering using all of those funds up front?
That was conversations that Mitch and I were still in the process of having on whether or not you could potentially bond for those funds and put them back in.
When did the county commit 4.5 million to this?
That was the original commitment from the Board of Supervisors.
It wasn't that high, what was
I
it?
thought it was 3.
I thought it was 3.
Well, on the spreadsheets on the capital plan that you've shown, it has $3 million from the bond, and then there's 1.5 million from ARPA funding towards it. So and the Boyd Jones costs, when you look at their schematic budget right now, they do have 2 different contingencies in there. They've added in, because of the construction market that's happening right now, is a 7% escalation contingency. And the change orders that you're seeing right now in the courthouse addition, that was what this escalation contingency is there for. They know that the roofing costs, the window costs, things like that are kind of going back and forth. So out of that 10.9 right now, over $900,000 of that is purely in the 2 different contingencies, 5% for the regular contingency and 7% for this escalation contingency.
When do you expect to get a commitment for these funds, Matt?
So on a portion of these, as you can see in the column on the due dates of them, some of them have rolling and some of them actually have set dates that you'll apply by or around. So we're gonna work as hard as we can to try and get some commitments from these individuals right away, but it will be spread out over a period of time because of that contingency. Yeah, well, Lisa can jump into it.
So before we would go after some of these funding, we would need the budget completely approved so we can provide that. Private foundations typically award within 90 days of the request. The government sources, they're kind of on their own schedule, so it just depends on when the RFP releases and how long we have to turn that around. It's just really important that the packet is put together and ready to go to be able to submit some strong proposals. And there are some foundations on here that we might request a multi-year gift, meaning that, but we would want them in hand before the project was completed. So it wouldn't be anything like 10 years, it would be more like a 2-year grant request.
Well, the money would have to be in hand before, or at least committed before we could even start.
So we'd have to have, typically it's about 75% before construction starts. And then, but we would want to move forward with pledged commitments after that for sure. But we would want money in hand before the project was completed. Meaning the funds would have to be dispersed.
I took a picture of the whiteboard when we were doing that original planning, but I can't find it.
And some of these funders, whether they're government or private, will require a matching fund, whether it's 10% or 20%, and that's where the county's existing commitment will come into play. So there won't have to be additional funds leveraged on top of that. They'll already be in place.
Who's gonna front the opioid money, Matt?
Those are conversations with Mitch that are still ongoing. It's down here as just food for thought on this and the project pipeline. When you think of the overall cost of what we're looking at, $13.5, $13.7 million, but we have a potential pipeline of around $15.9 million. It's really just to signify, we know that we're not going to receive all of these funds from, there might be a foundation or two in here that this just doesn't fall within what they want to do. But we're within that margin of error to say that this is a feasible project to happen. We do have a really good ability right now to get this done, and we're starting from a good spot with the county pledge already, so.
I mean, that's considering without scaling back any of what you've put under the design, right?
Correct.
Yeah, no, if they come down with the actual, we want to say rules for the opioid funds yet, and I know it's gonna be some pretty strict rules on the use of that fund for when we sat through those settlement things.
It just seems to be one of those pieces that's fallen into place at the right time, because the opioids, we've been talking about that for 7 years, the ability of that, where it's gonna fall at. And just the fact that it's falling in within this time frame of the construction of a new facility like this, really for us, that would work out just about perfect. To be able to say, then those funds are allocated, they were used in the restrictions that get set forth for it. So it could be a good use of them.
Has you had conversations with Mitch on like where we're gonna land with urban renewal in the next couple of years as far as our, debt schedules and all that? Because obviously that area is designated under urban renewal, which might solve some of your issues.
And it does. So Mitch has said that there is more bonding capability in there, and I'm just trying to do whatever we can without that right now.
Yeah. Totally agree. I'm just curious what's there.
I believe he said it's about $8 million.
Okay.
Am I missing the hospitals in here somewhere, Matt?
No, I had not talked to Lisa and her team about adding in the hospitals yet, but we will be adding in those hospital foundations in there as well.
That makes perfect sense.
In number 2 and 3 spot. But
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but again, today was just meant to be just an update for the board on what we're looking at as far as cost-wise, what we're looking at as far as the pipeline-wise. As you look at these documents and you have time later throughout the week, and if you see something like Tim just brought up with the hospitals, adding them in, or other entities that you may know of, we're not afraid to go up and knock on anybody's door and ask for some money. So please just make sure you let either myself or Maria know, and we'll communicate that across and get that added in to the list, because at the end of the day, I think that much like what we saw with our vaccine clinics, the construction of this new building is really gonna be a community effort. And the more people we get involved in it, and the more people, and there's gonna be people that wanna donate to that portion of it, we'll be glad to help them out.
Take their money.
Yeah.
Well, I'm open for discussion on this. I can say it's extremely expensive and as just a board member looking at this, at a $13 million cost of a building, and we have nothing committed, we can't move forward with anything. I mean, funding needs to be there before we can move forward. How do you move forward not having the money?
That's the part we're moving forward with though, Tim, is we're moving forward with the funding. So we're gonna move forward with this,
Okay, how much do you have committed?
4.5 million.
Okay, so we're only.
Actually, we have 4.799600. So we're moving up already.
So typically, when we engage a board in fund development activities, at this stage, it's just more of updates. And, yes, this is our plan. And so perhaps quarterly or monthly or bi-monthly, we bring back the same information and say, this is, this is what we need additional, this is what we have pending now, this is what's been awarded, and this is what continues to be on the pipeline. So it's less about approving the whole project and more about just us providing the updates on where we are in the fund development process.
And I think those updates need to happen in order for the board to move forward to approve the project to even start. If you don't have the money, how do you move forward? I mean,
You can typically launch a campaign. You wouldn't necessarily brand it everywhere and say to the entire community that you're going forward with a huge campaign, but you would, so we were more in the quiet phase of fund development, and so,
not anymore.
well, understood, but we're not branding it and putting billboards up and sending out, marketing pieces. But to be able to present this to funders, we do have to say that the Board of Supervisors supports the project. I mean, whether that means that you haven't approved the final budget or schematics or anything like that, that's okay. We just want to make sure that we don't sit in front of funders and say, this is Matt's idea.
Okay, that's gonna take some time for the board to digest this. I'm sure there'll be some more questions. I don't know if anybody else has anything they wanna ask, or.
I do. This hardened space, is there funding for that too?
So Alley Pointer came up with that in as they're designing the building, something out of a storm shelter. They didn't officially call it a storm shelter because of the design of the building, and they were asking is that something that we would want to have? Now, I mean, you can look on Boyd Jones's piece here where it says that would be an add-on of $965,000 if we went to try to harden a space. And it wouldn't even quite meet FEMA standards as a storm shelter. Yeah, so it's not something that I've heavily considered in on this. I don't know that it's 100% necessary, so.
No, I mean, I don't know. Barring it happening like just randomly, emergency management's been pretty good about getting us updates on weather, and people can come across the street to this building if we're gonna have a big concern. I don't wanna spend another $1 million on it.
Wow.
Well, it's just tough. I mean, we got a lot of capital projects going on. We're in a market space that's just ridiculous for costs right now. I mean, it's just a lot to swallow, and I mean, I personally hope that you're able to get all these foundations to move forward and help you. I mean, I think it's a worthwhile venture to see if we can do this. I'm just nervous, the fact that we've got courthouse expansion, the jail expansion, or the sheriff's office expansion, potentially roads building, then this one. I mean, that's a lot of capital out there, and I'm just.
And right now, we're 10 million short.
Well, I mean, I think if they can make this work, I'm a little skeptical on a couple of them, but, we'll see if you guys can pull it off.
That's why there's over 15 million in prospects.
There's a couple I would be shocked if you can pull it off, and I hope you do, so, but.
The governor announced that 20 million for nonprofits with this.
Nope,
No, okay.
nope.
Darn.
So, unless we could get one.
One of the other nonprofits to apply for it.
But it would only probably be for their particular space, and they
Okay.
have to be shovel ready. So
Yep.
because it hasn't been approved, it wouldn't be considered shovel ready.
So we keep talking about approval, like we need to approve something else? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's the part, you guys have approved it. I mean, but it's in the contract with Alley Pointer, right? And so this is schematic design. The construction design is happening right now. They're in the construction design portion of this. Once those documents get all ready, then it will go out for all of the different RFPs.
How much money today do we have out on this project? So if we get to the point of no return, what's our loss? Let's
It'll
just
be
say,
around,
we can't
I
do
believe
this.
it's around $500,000.
No.
That's with Alley Pointer, right? That was the amount that we approved with Alley Pointer? Their costs?
No, I don't believe so. I need to go back and look. I think that, we just did bid process with Boyd Jones, and I think that cost for the pre-construction was like $56,000 to provide us with some kind of a similar, I shouldn't say it like that, with a proposed cost for construction. At that point, we could bail out if we need to. So,
Well, I'm not saying we have to, I'm just curious, you know,
The
what's the loss?
pre-construction cost with Boyd Jones was 11,000.
So every week, every month that goes by, what's, you know, it'd be helpful to know that as we go forward, you know.
we
How
have
far into this are
100,000
we?
with Alley Pointer,
Okay.
up to, oh, no,
That was field day.
field day. Yeah, it's time for us to get an update on that massive providers, where we're at with it. So we all know.
Mhm.
I think 500 is way, we don't have that in it.
I think we need to probably have another capital discussion again here pretty soon, just so we can, I mean, there's just a lot going on. I
We're
just wanna make
working
sure-
on one, it'll happen, this month, or next month. But I mean, certainly you're not here asking us to move forward on a $14 million building.
This is an update.
There's an update on the funding. So this is, I knew that this was your first glance at the schematic design budget that we have here. And then just, but I didn't wanna come to you with just, hey, there's the cost Boyd Jones is telling us what the building's gonna be. I wanted to be able to come to you with, Lisa and her funding pipeline that she had, so you can see that it is an obtainable project. It's not something that, you know, if we came here and we only had $5 million in potential grants out there for it, we have a $10 million cost, I would tell you it's probably time to rethink things. But we're above what the potential cost of this is, and I think we have a real shot at making this happen.
And just to provide some confidence, you know, there is, you know, almost 16 million in prospects here. So these were identified as funders who support health projects or government entities, or would have a specific interest in one of the services provided inside of the building. So, you know, although some of them could be a stretch, they're also foundations that I have really close relationships with, and so I feel like we'll be really straightforward in their response. And long-term, it would be great for sustainability if we could get some of these foundations on board, because they'll continue to support public health initiatives going forward if we do a good job.
So when do you think is another good opportunity to give us an update on these potential ones, I guess? Couple months, or what do you, I mean, a month, weeks, what are you thinking?
So our process would be that we would need to develop a case statement around the project, have as firm of budget numbers as we can get, and then put up together a narrative around impact. So if we can do that, we already have the pipeline, and look at tiering some of these funders. You know, we don't want to go after $10,000 funders right now. That doesn't make any sense. So we need to prioritize which funders are going to come in at the largest amounts and start having those conversations with those funders. I do think that some of the three funders that are in blue, those three sources would be really beneficial to at least have some soft yes, or you know, we might be moving forward, and to get a firmer amount on those, so we can go to the private sector and say, this is what we have in place for public dollars.
We don't have the FEMA funding.
The FEMA funding is just starting now to get reimbursed to us, and that's why I have that down there as a potential. If the board would review this, remember I showed you the spreadsheet on what we were able to bring in as far as COVID funding and what FEMA will be able to reimburse us on that. So we're whole now. If we get that FEMA funding and we put it towards, a good use of it to put it towards this building, and we're looking at a potential of around 2.5 million. We won't receive all of that because FEMA's gonna knock some of the things off. I mean, they're going through our items pretty good, and you know, like there was a generator they wouldn't reimburse us for and things like that, but the amount that they do reimburse us, if we could put that towards this building.
Those funds were taken out of, cash reserve,
And reimbursed by CARE dollars.
not all of it.
Not all of it, no, because the other of it was grants that we were able to receive. So, but in all, it was put back in there.
So FEMA dollars, just to I wanna make sure since we're in public session, people understand that we're not talking flood recovery money, we're talking FEMA dollars that are allocated specifically for.
COVID-19,
Yes, okay.
specifically for COVID-19.
What do we get the generator for?
Buildings and Grounds said they needed it for a backup for the 911 communication tower site.
Oh, okay. That was for COVID?
It was for COVID, they were worried about some sort of power outage or something like that out there.
Where is that now? Do we know?
Jason with Buildings and Grounds has it, it's a portable, towable one, something. We did all the water fountains, we changed all those out, put bottle fillers on there. We were reimbursed for those costs, and all of our plastic shieldings and things like that we put up. But the biggest portion of it's gonna be our payroll time that, we submit in, so. And that's got sent over, Evan and Jana worked on that and putting it together. And so when we get that large portion of it comes through, that would be portion of that 2.5 million. I think it was.
Has that been submitted, Matt?
It's in the hands of Evan right now. We're sorting through a couple of pieces on it, splitting out the vaccination clinics versus just COVID, but
So it hasn't been submitted to FEMA?
not to FEMA, no.
How long does that take?
They were really good about it the last time. We got it over to them and it was less than 60 days and they issued that payment out. So we have a really good representative from FEMA, Kenneth Dix, and it's been working out really well.
What do you need from us next? Like, what's the next steps from the board?
So
Keep going, I mean.
from you all, take your time to talk to Mitch and decide on whether or not we can, designate the FEMA and the opioid funds. That would be the next step, next step I need from the board right now at this point in time. Next step for me is I will get with Mitch and we will come in with an update on who all we've paid and for how much for the pre-construction of the building so far. And we'll give you that update. And then I would think within 45 to 60 days, we will come back in with Fox Creek and give you an update on where we are as far as the capital campaign. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it does.
And then in the meantime, if any of you all, like I said, got any questions, you have anybody you want to add, something that you see, you can always reach me on my cell phone.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
Got first initial shot.
it is.
Oh, it's for me too.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Doesn't Blackfield have one, a foundation or something too?
Yeah, Black Hills and American Energy.
I see Mid-Am, but I didn't see Blackfield's on there.
Yeah, we'll talk to Amy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Take a deep breath and recover and move on to Leanne Gifford, you're up. Discussion decision to approve and authorize the board to sign resolution 44-2022 entitled authorizing the purchase of property and designating the board chair as the authorized representative to signing the necessary documents for closing. Leanne, you're up.
Thank you. This is to buy just a little bit of property from Jill Fisher and Roger Olson. It's part of the bike trail project. Something we've been working on for well over a year, I believe, at this point. And I believe they want to close this week, but I need to have get the resolution signed, and that will also give authorization for Mr. Wickman to sign off on all the necessary documents for closing.
And did we do a permanent easement? That's in this.
Yes,
The
please.
permanent easement is, right now, they don't go down the highway with their equipment to access the west side, because apparently it goes up a hill and there's a line of sight, so they access the current property now, and then they have a field access on the east side. It's confusing because it's kind of goofy highway. East side that goes directly over to the west side. So that's what the permanent easement is for. The temporary easement is for the hay that they planted.
Okay, and that's a different document though.
Yeah, that's a different document, yeah, but
Well,
it's
we've got
included in this
questions about
resolution
that.
too, so, and that's to get the hay off the ground for up to the next 5 years, however long it's viable, so,
That one, I thought we just were gonna do a year or two.
yeah, I
Now all of
think,
a sudden, here it is 5.
well, it's however long the alfalfa is good for,
And-
and typically it's about 5 years.
In that particular one, they said if they don't replant for hay. So then they could perpetually replant for hay, the way I read it, but I'm not a lawyer.
The easement is, well, and Matt's the one who drafted this and then decided to take vacation and handed it all to me on Friday.
Well, good for him.
Right? I'll have to repay the favor. That easement is what, 5 years? So if they want to replant, they're going to have to ask for that easement to be renewed beyond the 5 years.
Can I read it to her?
Yeah, please do.
All right, help us with this. Do you have a copy of that easement?
I do.
All right, it is the temporary easement, and it's under, bullet point 2, where it says the temporary easements shall expire at the end of the next 5 hay growing seasons, provided, however, that there will be no new planting of hay after the date of conveyance. So once we own it, we don't want to allow them to plant anything on it, to continue to use that property for, perpetually, actually. So if we took that, I'm just throwing something out here.
Okay.
If we took that, item, that
The last,
paragraph 2, put a period after October 31, 2026, and eliminated the rest of that language, I think that might be something the board could deal with. I think that's a pretty bland statement, and it's a little confusing, it was to me. And I think it was to Scott and Brian, and I don't know if Lynn was part of the discussion on that, but there will be no new planting of hay after the date of conveyance, provided, however, that there isn't. So it sounds to me like we're giving them the opportunity to come back in and replant hay. Is that the way you read it?
it can be read that way. The meaning might have been that you're not allowed to plant more hay. I would need to check with the seller's attorney to see exactly what that was. You know, what was the meaning of that, and we can clarify that. But yes, I understand your concern now.
The quitclaim deed, I think it refers to, does it refer to the easements?
Do you have any visuals of the easements through that property?
Justin could probably pull that up, I guess.
Can you hit projector? You gonna do that for show, I think it is? I can do it if you need
What are
help.
we on, Tim? The permanent easement?
No, I'm just looking at the quitclaim deed, it doesn't even, the quitclaim deed doesn't recognize the easements.
Correct.
Should it?
No, not on a quitclaim deed. Typically, you don't recognize easements on those.
At some point,
Well, probably not after the county owns it.
at some point, that needs to be a warranty deed. Quitclaim deed, all we're doing is
Right.
we're taking it over and we're accepting any
I believe there was.
encumbrances on the property that's not identified.
Correct. Was there a title search on this?
I think clear title was gonna do that.
I just.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand why it's not a warranty deed anyway.
FICA.
I think it might be partly because this was such kind of a contentious deal that a quitclaim deed was all the sellers would agree to. I'm guessing, I'm not sure, because like I said, Matt was the one who's been handling this one.
After the quitclaim deed is recorded, can the county provide a warranty deed to itself?
I would think so, yes.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, my next question. Why do we have a permanent easement that goes on perpetually?
I believe that's for them to access other farmland that they wouldn't be able to easily access.
But it goes on to anybody that buys that land, anybody that
If it's,
inherits that land?
Come on.
Mark can probably point out where it is.
1 second, guys, I'm gonna do something real quick. Gosh darn it, no, I can't. Okay.
Guess what I'm thinking was if we just had it in their lifetime rather than forever. This could go on forever. Am I wrong?
Where is this easement?
Yeah, this is the property along here and extends up farther.
Here, you want me to move it?
So the easement would be,
No, just right there.
basically the road's right here, the easement would be up the edge here to wherever their field access is, right across there.
That's all the further it goes?
I think so. If that's their field access, it looks like it is.
So it parallels the railroad highway.
Yeah,
So the only easement would be on the west side of the bike trail once it's built?
Yep.
They have
There you
no
go.
say
Yeah,
on
just
where,
be along here. And
Mark, they have no say as to where the trail is on that property?
we would determine where the trail would go.
Okay. And
On
they're responsible for any damages?
Well, the only
Yes.
place that they would probably access going across the trail would be in this area right here.
Okay, that's.
And
not a
then
big
you
deal.
design for the trail to accommodate
Right.
heavier equipment. That's the way we've done it in the other locations where there's farm accesses.
But if he comes along our easement and damages the trail, he's responsible.
Yes, that's part of the permanent easement, and that's spelled out in paragraph 3,
Okay?
where it says, the party causing the injury or damage to the easement area shall be responsible for 100% of the repairs to the easement area.
Okay, I do
And they-
see that.
They wanted this easement because apparently there's a hill in this location. If they're coming up the highway, I think the hill's up a little bit farther. The vehicles kind of crest over that hill, and if they're coming up crossing with their equipment, turning, it's a little slower than going straight across, so. It was more of a safety
No.
issue than anything,
And we agreed to do that in our meeting with them.
yeah.
The 5-year deal with the hay was, I thought we agreed 1 year.
Well, they wanted more, so they want whatever the life expectancy is of the hay. So, and that's typically around 5 years. After that, typically you plant it into some other crop to get the nutrients back in there, then you can replant it back into hay, but that's not gonna happen, so.
Have we got that language? Does that language look like it's in there?
I'm gonna talk with Mr. Thornton and find out
Okay.
what it was that they're intending, because it's kind of confusing right now as to, referencing new planting.
This is it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That must be your hill you're talking about over here.
Yeah, right up at the.
We can go driving down the road.
Watch out.
Yeah.
I say, don't play chicken, come on.
Okay, so Leanne, I don't know when they wanted to close this, but are you gonna be able to take care of that and get back with the board and let us know where we're at?
They wanted to close this week, but I'm thinking that's not going to happen because I haven't heard back on another document with their attorney either. So if you guys aren't going to approve this today, then obviously it's going to have to be delayed at least a week before we can close.
So does, on that item 3 about their responsibility to 100% fix if there is any damage, it doesn't really specifying, maybe it doesn't need to be there, how much time do they get to do that? Follow me?
Yeah.
I understand that.
And if we have to go do it, I mean,
Terminates easement.
No, probably not.
So we don't have any
Fix it and send them a
guarantees.
bill.
I was
What's
gonna say
that?
we
You
fix,
fix it and send them a bill.
right.
right, but that's what I'm wondering.
It's difficult to say because of, fix it within 60 days or something, but then frost sets in or something and you're not able to get it repaired until the next spring or, whatever. So it's difficult to say how quickly to repair it when you're talking land sometimes, and it depends
Well, I
on the type of.
mean,
We're more
And then-
worried about the trail.
And the way it's gonna be designed is the trail's gonna be closer to the railroad tracks on the right-hand side as you're looking down this picture. And the easement's gonna be over on the left-hand side. I don't even think they're gonna be close to the trail when they're accessing the property for agricultural purposes.
We're trying to be good
No,
neighbors.
it'll be in that same area, Justin. Sorry.
We're trying to be good neighbors, and we just wanna make sure that when we're not on the board,
It'll be,
it's spelled out.
yeah, it'll be straight down,
Just right down.
as close as we can get to the property line there, the railroad.
We ain't gonna give a little,
Well, there'll be some cushion there, because, the
Okay.
railroad goes 50 foot from the center line all the way over, so some of that actually is probably should not be farmed, or shouldn't be alfalfa right now, so. So there'll be some vegetation, there'll be some space between the railroad and,
Can we approve this without her having to go back or give you what you need to do subject to that, or is that?
Well, the actual resolution says that, the temporary easement would allow them to harvest hay from the property for the next 5 growing seasons. That's all it says. That's what the resolution says. However, the document that, if the board moves forward, that they would authorize the chairman to sign, has that, planting, provided there will be no new planting of hay.
Well, I mean, can
I
we
don't
approve the
like that.
resolution and then give you the direction to fix
Sign it
that?
after that's removed?
Well, you just don't sign it if they can't get that removed. I mean, we can put that string on there, can't we?
Yeah, we can do what we
Well,
want.
at least that way, I mean, they may just be like, oh yeah, it might not even be a big deal to them at all, and hopefully not, and then we're good to go, I don't know.
we
So
talked
far-
a year, and giving them the 5-year is bending over to be a good neighbor, I think. Hope they take that in kind.
Okay, we can, I'm with you, Major, or, that,
I'm a major.
we can move forward with the resolution, knowing that, unless we have an acceptable, temporary easement language, if we don't get that, then we won't move forward on the closing. Are you okay with that, Leanne?
Not really, to be honest.
If you wanna
I
hold
would
it off.
rather have you guys see what actually is going to be signed and, have the resolution reflect what's actually going to be signed and not, the resolution right now is saying, well, we're referring to an unsigned copy, which isn't gonna be what you guys want to sign or what you want to allow Tim to sign.
somebody surveyed those easements, right?
Yes, the easements have a survey, it's
Yeah.
side attachment A.
Right,
That was,
but I
you
mean,
don't remember earlier this year? Or was it?
right, no, I know, but I mean, there should be a picture showing the easements on, there's two.
I don't have those.
You don't? It got recorded, right?
Well, we have the survey of the entire parcel going up.
Could we,
Who did the surveys on the easements?
Well, I'm
Is it our entire parcel that's got an easement on it then?
No, I don't think so. Well, it could be the entire parcel minus where the trail's gonna go, yeah.
The temporary easement has a, it
Just
contains
wanted a certain amount.
0.924 of an acre.
And that's what I saw.
So, and the easement would not be recorded until the closing happens.
Well, for the closing, it's gotta be somewhere who.
It'd be recorded after the deed was
Right,
signed.
who did the easement?
Who did the survey for the easement?
Yeah, was that Rogers too?
All right,
So we're gonna bring it back, is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Do you wanna do it later in the week?
I mean, all we have to do is strike that last sentence, right?
but
Of the hay?
legal counsel's not.
She's got some other things she's
I'm
waiting
looking at
to.
this and I'm thinking that the exhibit A attached appears to be identical to the description of what we're buying. So in other words, the quitclaim deed attachment A appears to be identical to both of the easements. So if you wanted the easement to be surveyed and platted separately to make it very clear where they're allowed to, access.
I think that might be the smart thing to do.
We're going to push this off. However, Leanne, if you look at the legal description for the permanent easement, if you go down to the bottom, it says that it consists of 1.99 acres.
A portion of it does. They're talking about, yes, but then if you look at the end of the second paragraph, it says said parcel contains 1.49 acres more or less, and then it gives another description, which
Okay,
is
all right.
1.409.
We're gonna push this off. Can
Okay.
you get everything resolved for Thursday?
For
tonight?
Thursday, I'm out tomorrow for a funeral.
She said Thursday the.
Night.
Oh, the night, okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Next week.
Yes.
Matt, and before Matt left, he said this can wait till next week too. When he gets back, he'll have some information too.
I
so.
feel more comfortable.
Let's do that.
Sorry, one more week. No,
Okay, next on our agenda, we have discussion decision to approve and authorize the chairman to sign rural transit system joint participation agreement with SWIPCO and the funding request of approximately $6,000. Something we do every year with SWIPCO. It provides funding for SWITA for the busing.
Yep, I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Can I second it?
Any discussion on this item? Scotty, that's coming out of gaming, I believe, right?
Yeah, we typically take out a game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, it's not a game.
That's a
Okay.
good deal for Southwest Iowa.
Yes, it is.
Do you agree with the gaming part, Lance?
Yes.
All right. We have a motion and a second on that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, next up, we have public comments.
Yeah, give me a second.
The board will now allow up to 30 minutes for comments from the public. The board will call speakers to the podium in the order in which they have signed up on the form provided. Each speaker is limited to no more than 2 minutes for speaking, must speak from the podium, and must first state his or her name and address for the record. Comments should be directed to the board as a whole and should refrain from personal attacks or from addressing individual employees or citizens. Comments should also be limited to one topic. Detailed information about the public comment policy is available upon request. Anybody sign on?
Are you Shauna?
Yes.
And
All
Shauna,
right.
when you get up, can you please state your name and your address, just for the record?
You start your